Welcome back to the Ken Matthews Report. Big day today, not only because Congressman Scott Perry is here, but tonight is President Donald J. Trump speaking at the convention. And I'm glad to have you on. I follow you very closely, as your other supporters do. A lot of people do. And something that jumped out at me is you're a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And I find a lack of intelligence across not only the country, but let's cut right to the chase. What the hell happened in Butler County?
Yeah, let's cut right to the chase. Let me just tell you what happened. I don't know if it's a lack of manpower. I don't know if it's a lack of will. I don't know if it's by design, but the president was left unprotected where thousands of people came to see him thinking they were in the most secure location on the planet. And make no bones about it, Ken. You know this. Like, you don't have to know anything about security. People that have watched TV, seen the Tom Cruise movie, Mission Impossible or Jason Bourne movie, have said as they've watched the movie, that's cool, but that would never happen in real life because no one would ever leave that unsecured. Yep. They left the high ground unsecured, and there's no excuse for it. And even while the individual was climbing up and people were reporting it, the president stood out there and talked. The president can't be allowed to take the stage unless the location is secure. And don't give me this, it's outside of the perimeter. The roof slope is too steep. Local police were responsible. Yeah. None of those are acceptable answers. It was
embarrassment. It was an embarrassment to our country, our enemies, and our allies. Look at us. I made a meme because I'm into memes now. Yeah. Keep me sane. And I just thought, what is Putin thinking right now? What is Putin's security detail thinking right now, having seen the response time, the advance, and the mobilization of our Secret Service in Butler County? They've got to be laughing their ass off. That girl was, she couldn't control her gun. Am I going to put it in my holster? Am I going to drop down and give me 50 pronouns? What the hell's happening?
Yeah, to the culture of the agency, the United States Secret Service, the culture of the agency, Ken, the culture is this, or it should be this: we're here to protect the principal, period. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care if you agree. If you can't sign up for that, you're not here. That's number one. Number two, you need to be capable of protecting the principal. And it isn't about you. It isn't about, I want to serve. I want to be in the Secret Service. I want to wear the vest. I want to travel around the world. No one cares, Ken, and no one should care, because it's not about what you want. It's about your capabilities of being able to protect a 6'3" guy under assault. And when you're 5'2", you can't cover 6'3". It's mathematically not possible. So you shouldn't be there. It's not an indictment on people that aren't 6'3". True. It's just a requirement for the job. It's a reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't pick a 165-pound computer programmer to be the center. There's a reason for it, Ken, and it's not personal. We need somebody to be a programmer, whether they're 160 pounds or 260 pounds. But the point is that these organizations operate on successful capabilities. If you don't have them, it's not that they're mad at you or disagree with you. You just can't complete the mission for them. Secret Service has lost sight of that, obviously.
Well, it's interesting, and you brought up there's so many layers of failure here.
Yes.
And I'm not even in the arena with your experience and many others, but I think as civilians go, I'm probably more up to speed than most. And I just could not believe every single step. And it was exactly like many of us started to predict. It's going to come out that he had contact with law enforcement. It's going to come out that he was able to walk through law enforcement. It's going to come out that he was seen by law enforcement. All true now. Now we have the water tower bringing in play. We have several people saying they saw another gunman. We now have 3 witnesses that have said that. So this thing is so murky and messed up, and the delay in time is frightening. It is frightening. And what it told me is, because look at what the American people have experienced over the last year. Nobody has confidence in the FBI leadership anymore, DOJ leadership, Border Patrol leadership, DHS leadership, House or Senate leadership, and now Secret Service. What's left? Do we have to protect our own country, our own self? Where do we go now? I know that's a big question, but
right. Well, look, and you're Ken Matthews, broadcasting, doing your show, thinking about this. I'm Scott Perry. I can think whatever I can need to think about this. Think about if you're president, former president, and soon to be the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and you don't have any choice. The Secret Service is mandated by law. That's your option, right? And apparently, the first lady gets to select your detail. You don't get to select it. You can't really say anything about it, because what can you say?
Well, let's bring people into that for people who haven't heard that, because I know there's some people that have and have not. So Jill Biden was a pivotal player because, as you know, she's a doctor. She was a pivotal player in deciding deciding the diversity and the gender that would make up the particular details of protective covering. Okay. So why do you go home and sit down with your wife and say, I want to run something by you with the Intelligence Committee?
Yeah, right. Well,
nothing against your wife, because she's probably smarter than most of those idiots in Washington. But when people start to find out that, it looked like they weren't taking our guy's life seriously. And then when you factor in the dead supporter and the 2 injured supporters, I just want to explode. It was like a free for all. How do you get off 8 rounds and nobody responds? How does that
8 rounds? And I know it's in quick succession, but we pay people to be prepared for
well,
that.
It was a volley of 3 and a volley of 5, but you've done enough drills. That was an eternity. And here's the part. They said they scoped him early on.
Right there. Yeah. I mean, you know where you're being told where he is. We watched the agents on the roof, and I don't know which one's fired. Look, there's a lot to be ferreted out yet. And look, if you're angry now at the lost life of a father, a husband, a firefighter, a guy who shielded his family from the bullets and lost his life because of it under the presumption of safety, just be prepared to be even more angry as the Secret Service director doubles down on blaming everyone else.
Oh yeah, she's
doubles down on acting like we're a bunch of fools, that the roof was too steep. It wasn't too steep for a sniper to try and kill the president, right?
That was the stupidest thing. And then she's blaming the Butler County Sheriff, and she's blaming local law enforcement. If you told any local law enforcement guy, and you know this because you meet a lot more than I do, if you told any law enforcement guy, we want you to take a corner of that roof, make sure no one gets up there, dude, that would be the proudest moment of his life.
Yeah.
He would give his life to be able to say they put me on the roof just to make sure it was secure.
Yeah, I
listened this bull crap like we dropped the ball is bull crap.
Yeah, I listened to the local police and said, look, we were relegated to traffic enforcement. That's the job they gave us. And you're absolutely right, Ken. If they said, hey, we're short man today in their pre-execution checklist, and they said, we're short today, we need you to man, we need you to put people up on this roof, on this high ground, on the water tower at these locations, they would have been happy to do it. Law enforcement, they're happy to do that. They're, like you said, they'd be honored to do the job. But let's remember this too. The director of the Secret Service is essentially the commander in charge. Now, of the overall organizations, there's a site commander and an incident commander. We still have to get those names and figure out who made those final decisions. But I will tell you this, Ken, when your service member in combat gets killed accidentally, you don't have somebody else go and talk to their family and say, you know, your service member screwed up here. You know, he or she died because they were idiots. You cover the roof. It's your job to make sure the roof is covered, whether you cover it with a mortar round, whether you put a smoke screen on top of it. It's the Secret Service director's job to make sure it's done. She didn't make sure it got done. And this is what's going to anger you, Ken. It's going to be a long time getting answers, and no one's going to be held accountable. It's going to be just the same old Biden administration shuffle around here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am sure, like I told my neighbor, we'll have answers as efficiently as the JFK Warren report.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So our great grandkids will get part of this story.
Yeah.
And then someone else will say,
outrage.
Yeah.
And look, and I would be saying this for Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton.
Agreed.
Hillary, whoever the president is can't be taken out by a rooftop 130 yards away where Ken, my 15-year-old daughter with 10 minutes of training, could have taken the shot and done probably just in a prone supported position. Are you kidding me? The world is looking at us, and they're looking. We have a law that prohibits the United States or any of its agencies from being involved in the assassination of other foreign leaders. But guess what? Other countries don't have that law, Ken.
Oh, I know. And people will not, you know, the other thing that bothers me about this is already we're hearing, you know, the conspiracy chatter to shut people down, those of us that are asking intelligent questions. And I was so disappointed because when you go back through the records, and then we'll move on to some other things because I know you got to get going. Like I look at my track record as a conservative talk show host, a conservative journalist, but I do everything I can to be objective. But you could go back through my entire career. You will not see anything written or recorded about taking the life of anyone,
right?
Let alone a president. Well, wait a second. I did say that murderers should get the death penalty. You know, I did do things like that. But you go on these websites, and it's not just the leftist comedian or the actor. It's people like Maxine Waters saying, I'm in such a great mood, I could go up and take Trump out tonight. The president last week talking about a bullseye. Yeah. That asshat from the Lincoln Project saying someone's got to put a bullet in Trump. We don't have that. We don't have that track record. They say we're using all this inflammatory talk. Isn't it funny? They never show us tape or quotes. You've never said it. I've never said it. Millions of Americans have never wished that on anyone, whether it was Obama, like you said, or Trump. And yet there is this bubble with all our law enforcement agencies that protect. BLM can burn stuff, but Aunt Becky can't take a picture of the Capitol. She's in jail, but BLM can burn stuff. And the news anchors can say, well, if someone has to die, they have to die. But you can't even say if someone needs to get voted out, let's get rid of them, because they'll take the let's get rid of them and misquote you. It's just ridiculous.
Well, they act like the rhetoric, and Ken, we've all been dealing with this over the last couple of days, that the rhetoric has been heightened, and it's been, as you maybe characterize it, inflammatory or what have you. And I use the same examples. It became fashionable. It became okay. There's a comedian holding the president, the likeness of the president's head is severed. And then there's some play where they assassinate the president. And the famous actor says, when's the last time a famous actor assassinated a president? And you got the president saying he's in the bullseye, and other people saying he's in the crosshairs. And our president, the former and the future, says, we're looking for unity. We're going to use this opportunity to try and turn. and they continue to they continue to project onto him what he's responding to, and at the same time, the current sitting president, Joe Biden, goes out and says right after that, literally right after that, says that President Trump is a threat to democracy.
I saw that again. Yeah. First of all, they don't know we're a republic. They still don't understand we're not a democracy.
They don't get that. But
I could not believe that. And that's what told me the guy's lost his mind. Now, he's been boosted 5 times. Apparently, the president has COVID. He's missed some events. Let's move on to the president.
Yeah.
I think, my opinion only, he's stepping down this weekend, and it's President Kamala Harris Monday. What are your thoughts?
Well, it sure seems very dynamic. I saw the statement last night that if he, that it's something to the effect of if he has some debilitating condition, that he will consider stepping. I think they're obviously setting the stage for him to do that. I just want to make the point. Look, I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. They don't care about the country. They care about winning. But this is the point to that. So tonight you're going to see the roll call of the states putting President Trump over the top based on votes from the individual states and territories, from the citizens of the United States of America. If that happens with Joe Biden, what you just described, where he steps down or whatever, what you're going to see is an orchestrated FU, the proverbial finger giving to all the Democrats in America, while the elites say, yes, we know you voted for this person as your nominee, but we know better, and we're just going to disregard your vote because President Trump is a threat to democracy, and we're going to disregard the democratic process in the republic that we have where you selected the nominee, and we're going to put somebody else in. And they're going to say that with a straight face, and they're going to tell the world to get bent, and the press is going to accept it as somehow this was the right thing to do, nothing to see here, and at the same time double down that Donald Trump is the threat to democracy.
And the other aspect of that is, and I predicted this months ago, I said before President Biden gets too wacky or touches any more little children inappropriately on video or makes any bad decisions, they're going to get him out of there before he can be impeached, before investigations can continue. Now we're just going to go to what we always do. There'll be no justice. Oh, let the guy live the rest of his life. He's 80-something years old. He's sick. Let his son alone. His son's a good boy. I mean, as crackheads go, he's a good boy. And they're just going to let this. They're going to get him out of there so he can leave with dignity. So it doesn't look like Obama, who's running the show, threw Joe out to dry. I mean, they really gave him a lot of rope. They gave him a lot of room. He should have been pulled off like 3 years ago. Well, he started to lose it.
Let's face it, Ken, you and I know, and we have known that he was incapable of the job when he got elected. The fact that they had to wait to the debate to be incredulous about the condition of the sitting president of the United States is all they were doing was covering their rear ends,
right?
Because they were losing all their credibility. The rest of us knew it, but they've been lying to the world and all their audience for 3.5 years, and suddenly they could no longer lie about it, so they had to do something.
Yeah, I think this is the plan.
They've been part of the greatest cover-up, the next greatest cover-up. Let's face it. It's just one after another with these people,
right?
But they've been right in on the greatest cover-up in American history right before your eyes. You can give them no credibility in this instance at all for finally coming to the terms of doing the right things. They only are doing
this isn't, it's not even the right thing. I think that, I mean, if he resigns over the weekend, which would be, logistically the right spot for it, because you could keep it on the DL and just, oh my God, he's just sick. And he said he'd love to do the rest of the job, but he just doesn't feel it would be fair to the American people. My God, he's a hero. Now we have a black female president. Oh my God, Democrats made history again. Now, if that happens, who's next for vice president? I mean, I don't understand how that works. Is it a congressional vote? Is it a hand-picked thing? I don't know how that works.
No, I think that comes from the. I'm just trying to think about that article in the Constitution. I think that that the president would have to nominate somebody to be selected by the Senate
The
to
Senate,
serve
that's
as
right. Okay.
the vice president for the
We can,
remainder of the term.
yeah, we can only imagine that. I was just thinking, can you imagine the damage that a President Kamala Harris could do in her first 12 hours with a pen? Think
Well,
about that. Think about, holy moly, we might be in a camp.
Yeah, when we think it's bad, we never really assume or consider that could actually get worse. I just want your mind to wander wherever it will to the Kamala Harris Gretchen Whitmer ticket, or the Kamala Harris.
Hold on, I got to get a drink.
Jamie Pritzker ticket, or the easy now, easy now.
You left out Newsom.
Well, I was getting to that.
Okay.
Getting to that. Yeah.
Oh my God. I know. That is just that it's crazy. But that obviously those are the big things. And in our last few minutes, again, I'll put you right on the spot. What do you think of the ticket? I heard Vance.
Yeah. Look, I love
pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, I love what JD, when he made it very plain who we're fighting for. We're not fighting for Wall Street. We're fighting for regular people that get up in the morning and go and punch a card and work, who have been left behind by the elites in Washington, D.C. And I think he has the credibility. Look, he's got a great story.
I was just going to say that. He is so close, if I may say this to my listeners, because you probably won't do that. You don't compliment yourself enough, but you know, you need to take a class from Trump.
Yeah, well,
you need. It's going to be great. What I did was great. It was greater than great. It was. There's so many memes out there, like the Trump making fun of the bullet, and just, yeah.
Well,
and it's a great
golf game. Did you see his golf game the next day? Right. The difference between me and the assassin, I don't miss.
Anyway, what the thing about JD Vance is he's so similar to your background, which I've learned through being your friend. I read his book, and everybody says that, but very few people come from the background that you came from, and that kind of, you know, that grit and working or below working class early on and having to turn things around. And he did the same thing. And I just find that so refreshing, because most people in Congress, you know, let's face it, they get a little bump. Or look at the senators. You got senators worth $250 million, and that's normal.
Yeah, that's frustrating, because while that's frustrating, when you know JD Vance's story, you know, his mother was a drug addict. He even referenced that.
Yep.
She's gotten herself on the right side, but raised by his grandmother. I don't know about his father. I'm sure there's a story there, but you know, was headed down the wrong road. His grandmother told him, you know, from what I heard last night, if you keep hanging around that guy, you're not going to ever see him again, and neither is anybody else.
Yeah, in the book. The book, she said, "I will run him over." Now, I don't know if you knew that his grandmother lit his grandfather on fire.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is in his book, which is a fascinating book. That's why when I heard JD Vance, just like a couple years ago in the circle of politics, a few years back, I was like, is that the same JD Vance that wrote Hillbilly Elegy? And then I was like, oh my gosh, it is. This is amazing. He makes I guess the grandma said, if you're not home, if you keep going out and drinking and sleeping on the couch, I'm going to light you on fire. So she did. And fortunately, everything was put out in time, but he didn't do it anymore. And it's a true story. And it's just, again, there's this is going to frighten some people, but you gotta respect a woman who says, you know, if A happens, so will B. And I guess he made a comment that at one point he thought he had more than a dozen stepfathers, because his family was so crazy.
I think unfortunately that's more common
than
we'd like to know.
It is.
So I think that gives him an uncommon credibility.
Yep.
Because he's willing to acknowledge it, and he
and
comes
where
from
he
it.
is.
Yeah.
In other words,
and
he's not. He's
he
not
made
on
it, right?
stage. Yeah, he's not on stage doing what Democrats train you to do. Take your pain, take your failure, use it as an excuse,
Yeah.
and leverage it. We'll give you some excuses. You didn't make it into the Marines because of this. You didn't make it into Harvard because of this. You didn't get elected because of that. His is just the opposite. Conservatives are just the opposite. And it's refreshing to have someone that had parents or role models similar to ours that said, you know, eventually you're going to have to shut up and stop whining and fix
Get after it.
Yeah, and fix stuff that's broke and suck it up, Buttercup. And that was great.
Yeah, and to me, I think it's inspiring, and I think the word is inspiring to people, no matter what your color is, your station, what have you. If you've led a tough life, you know, it's easy to get down and think, you know, nothing's going my way, nothing's ever going to go my way. JD Vance has, you know, shown that nothing was going his way, and as a matter of fact, it's amazing that he's not a drunk derelict sleeping on the couch somewhere with a bunch of kids that he can't account for. And he's now the vice presidential nominee of the most powerful country in America. So there's still hope for our country, and there's still hope for all of us that fall short of the grace of God.
Yes, and that was so beautifully put. And he has such a beautiful family, 3 kids, and I don't know, it's just great. I think the more veterans we have in you know, near the Oval Office or in the cabinet, the better off we are, because we're dealing with a lot of international things. In 30 seconds, I know you have to go. What's up next for you? Any messages? The message you just gave was great right there.
Well, what's up next for me? You know, look, I'm not at the convention. I've been there. I've done that. I'm going to watch tonight as Donald Trump is nominated as our nominee, and I'm going to be for him. Obviously, I'm thrilled that he's healthy and that he's going to be running the race. But I've got a tough district, and I work a lot. I'm on 4 committees, so any chance that I can be home with my bosses, hearing from them, and home with my family, is I take those opportunities, and so I'm taking that opportunity now. But next week we will be back in Washington, and the first order of business is the Secret Service, the FBI.
Yes,
they need to be sitting at the table answering questions for the American people. And we're not going to be able to force it, but let's face it, we all know right now, Ken, with little information we have, that if the person has any self-respect or love of country, that a resignation from the Secret Service should be being considered right now. I'm not sure exactly by who, but if there's not going to be any accountability, that's going to, I think that's going to say, the only way you're going to get accountability potentially is with Donald Trump as president. You are not going to get it with this team.
And that is so true, because DHS, Mayorkas, he's impeached.
Yes.
He shut down his own investigation, and he's in charge of the Secret Service. Now, before you go, what's up with your head before people start asking me? What happened to your head? Was it an altercation? Did you get in a bar fight? What happened?
I wish I had a good story. You know, when I am home with my family, I have some heavy equipment around here that I do some work with. I was engaged. I was focused on something, and I bashed my head. I didn't have a hard hat on into a piece of heavy equipment. You know, Ken, you've done this. It drops you to your knees, and you're a little angry at the moment, but it reminds you just how fallible and how human you are. And of course, this is your punishment for being a knucklehead.
But it looks cool. It looks cool.
Well, I wish I could tell you I saved a kid from a shark attack, but you know, it didn't happen.
Well, safe travels. Thanks for being on, Congressman Scott Perry. We look forward to your next update. Good luck.
Thank you. God bless you.